Welcome to Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy, where we seek to educate, motivate, and inspire professionals into starting their own healthcare businesses. Learn from leading healthcare entrepreneurs and other business experts as they share their journey and provide a glimpse into their playbooks for success. Loaded with valuable insights and actionable strategies, this show will guide you on your path to freedom. Now, please welcome your host, entrepreneur, healthcare practitioner, and MBA, Jason Duprat.
This episode is sponsored by my free presentation for the Ketamine Academy. If you're tired of long hours, constantly being on call, or having to give up your nights, weekends, and holidays, all for an employer that only thinks of you as a productivity number that they're trying to maximize, then it's time to break free from the hospital grind, become your own boss, and finally take control of your professional trajectory. It's time you start your own practice. I know it sounds really scary, maybe even a little impossible. I get it. You got student loans, you're working tons of hours, and you may not even be a physician. Well, I am here to tell you that it's absolutely possible. Starting my own clinic was exactly how I started my healthcare entrepreneur career. And there's one specific type of clinic that almost anybody can open. Ketamine therapy is one of the most promising treatments in the fight against depression, PTSD, and chronic pain that we've ever seen. And thousands of patients across the country are looking for clinics in their area. The problem is that there aren't enough yet. And these patients need someone like you to open a ketamine practice in your hometown. Go to ketamineacademy.com/presentation for a no-cost 60-minute training on how to gain more freedom by opening up your own clinic. On the presentation, you'll discover why opening your own private clinic is a better decision than working more overtime or going back to school for another degree, why this one specific niche clinic is the easiest to open and doesn't require a bunch of cash to start, and how anyone can open this type of clinic, even if you're not a physician, by just following a few simple steps. So to register for this free training, just go to ketamineacademy.com/presentation. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy podcast. I am your host, Jason Duprat, and we are back here for another Tactical Tuesday episode. And on this episode, I want to talk a little bit about using podcasts to get exposure for your business. And so essentially, you're listening to a podcast right now, so you're all very familiar with what podcasts are, what they're all about. And, maybe you've thought about how or listen to how others are using podcasts to grow their business, build brand awareness, and build some brand affinity for their business or their products or services. And so that's what this episode is all about. And there's several ways that you can leverage podcasts to help you get the exposure you need to grow your business. And so we're going to start with the first option, which is probably one of the easiest options. And what it is just sponsoring a podcast. So when you sponsor a podcast, there are a multitude of benefits to doing that. Typically, most of the hosts will actually read their own version or whatever you script up for them as far as an advertisement, which has actually shown to produce better results than having somebody else, having a professional voiceover artist, or maybe you yourself read your own advertisement that you want on the podcast. So that's one of the great things about sponsoring a podcast, is that oftentimes the host will read the advertisement, which comes across as being more authentic and real, and it really helps the podcast host's listeners better connect with that particular offer or piece of marketing material for your business or product or service. And so that's one of the benefits. Also, the other benefit is that podcasts are essentially running forever. If you pay for a podcast commercial or advertisement on a podcast, that podcast is evergreen. It is up there on the internet, on all of the podcast platforms, and hopefully on websites, multiple websites in terms of show notes regarding your commercial or ad. But that stuff stays up there forever. And so unlike a radio ad or a TV ad, which you spend massive amounts of time and money producing, that style of ad only runs for the time that ad is running on the radio while you're paying for it to be running. So you only get to the benefit of, that particular ad one time while it's airing live on that one particular episode. And the benefit of a podcast is that that episode will air for until somebody takes it down. Could be decades, could be hopefully at least years before somebody changes the radio ad. And there are some bigger podcast shows that will limit the amount of time that they put an ad on, one of their episodes. And so you do want to check for that, but the majority post the advertisement on the episode and leave it there forever. And that is one of the huge benefits. And the other benefit is the cost of running a podcast ad. Typically, podcasts are, smaller in nature. You're not running them to huge generalized audiences. That tends to cost a ton of money. You can save a small fortune by running ads in a particular podcast show or episode that is pulling an audience that is very representative of your businesses or your products or your services ideal customer. And you can specifically select podcasts that your ideal customer might be listening to or episodes that your ideal customer might be listening to. And the cost to get those ads in front of your ideal customer, although the reach is smaller, the number of impressions will be smaller. It's going to be very specific to the exact type of client or customer you're looking for at a much more affordable rate. As you're talking rates, depending on, usually it goes by the volume of podcast unique downloads per month, but you're talking anywhere from, free samples of your product or service to the host, all the way up to, maybe thousands of dollars a month on the high end. But you can find that sweet spot where you're paying a couple $100s a month and getting some phenomenal exposure for your brand, specifically right in front of potential customers or clients. And so that's the number one way. That's the easiest way to get into leveraging podcasts to grow your business. The second is being a guest on a podcast. And so that's actually one thing that one of my mentors recommends, JLD. He, during one of our masterminds, basically told everybody there they need to be getting on no less than 5 to 10 podcasts a month as a guest, because that is vital to growing your brand and your business. And so on various podcasts, many of them are interview style episodes, and I'm actually about to jump on one here in about 5 or 10 minutes, but many of them are interview style podcasts, and you are going to get interviewed. You're going to share your knowledge, your information, your success, your story, your failures. You're going to build brand awareness. And obviously it's not, an infomercial, but people are going to get to know you. They're going to get to know a little bit about your business and how you started your business during these types of interviews. And they're going to get familiar with your business or your product or your service. And that is a phenomenal way to utilize podcasts to grow your business. The absolute, the third and final way, and the absolute most challenging way for sure, is starting your own podcast. And that's definitely the hardest. It takes a lot of time and effort and consistency. You have to have great content. You typically are going to want to build out a team depending on how frequently you're publishing episodes. But if you're publishing any more than one episode a week, you're probably going to want to build out a team. Most people have hired, a team to write the show notes, to help them write some of the content ideas, to help market the podcast, to help book guests. There's oftentimes producers involved. And so if you're going to run a good, high quality podcast, there's definitely going to be some added expense and challenges with that. And it's a long-term game for sure. It's a long-term game. You are not going to be able to put out a podcast and top the charts within, a couple weeks, like you could, a decade ago. Now last thing I read was that there's almost 1 million different podcasts out there. And so although the majority quit podcasting within 7 to 10 episodes, there is still a massive amount of competition out there, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and consistency. But again, everything's evergreen. It stays up there forever. You have show notes. You can put the show notes on blogs, all these different ways to sort of multi-purpose or repurpose your episodes content to add value and then help get your brand and build your brand awareness and get your brand out there. So obviously your show or channel, while we're on the topic of having your own podcast, is not, it's not a consistent, steady pitch for your product or business or whatever. It's the focus is 100% on delivering value and content to your audience, which hopefully some of them are going to be, potential customers, or they may have the characteristics or demographics of your ideal customer. But the focus is not to sell them on the podcast. The focus is to provide an overwhelming amount of value and then put a commercial on your podcast, or something like we do here where it's just one commercial per episode, and we advertise our own product because we don't have any sponsors right now. And so that's the other way to leverage a podcast to get exposure for your business, your products, your services, and help you grow as an entrepreneur. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to sign off here. We're getting ready to jump on an interview on the Nurse Keith show. So stay tuned for that. It should probably be releasing in the next several weeks. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful week and that you are doing some great things in your business. And one thing I wanted to ask is just for a huge favor, if you could just share the podcast to somebody. In your podcasting app, you can literally, as you're listening, you can push a share button and then share it on a Facebook post or a message. Pretty easy now on most of these apps to share an episode. So if you like an episode or you find it helpful, then just do us a huge favor and share it out, because we're trying to get this podcast out to more people and just provide more value and more useful information to help you grow your business so that you don't have to be 100% dependent on, your hospital hourly income where you're trading time for money, or salary income where you're still trading time for money. I believe everybody should have at least a side hustle. And what starts as a side hustle could often turn into a huge booming business. And so hopefully that happens for you guys and you can do whatever makes you happy, whether that's stay at the bedside part-time or grow your business full-time or vice versa, whatever makes you happy. That's the beauty of having multiple streams of income. And anyways, guys, I'm going to sign off here. I hope you have a great week, and thank you for sharing the podcast. We will see you on the next episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy podcast. Have a great one, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy. Want to connect with more like-minded healthcare entrepreneurs and professionals? Just head over to jasonduprat.com/group to join our Facebook family for real-time interactions, insight, and resources to get you one step closer to realizing your goal. We look forward to interacting with you, but until then, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy.